What comes to mind when you hear the word fail? Is it an idea that only losers fail? Is it a memory of being punished or even ridiculed because you didn't meet an expectation? Or better yet, how does the word fail make you feel? For me, when I hear the word fail or failure, I feel extreme discomfort. I feel anxious sometimes, and I even feel sad. And it's funny because I was asking my baby girl, Eliana, how she felt, or she heard me ask the question, and she was like, "It makes me feel sad, but it also makes me feel like trying." So I guess that's a good thing. Some of us may even have like a visceral feeling, right? Like we feel it in our body, even. Our heart starts beating fast, our breath gets more shallow, and it's all because of this concept of failing and failure. And I think in many ways, society teaches us that failing is the very last thing that we want to do. Like it's the worst of everything. We hear stuff like, if you can't do something right, don't do it at all, right? And so the connotations are so negative to this word that we end up running away from anything that may even lead to failure or we think may lead to failure. But this also limits our ability to try again or even to try new things. It's hard to get over that hump once we fail to try again. And so, what I want to invite us to do tonight during this conversation is to reimagine this concept of failure. What if we can see it as being something that's helpful? What if we can see it as being something that's actually necessary, right? Something that's inevitable to making progress. So today, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about failing forward. Now, the working definition of this concept of failing forward is to deliberately find value in every failure that we experience and then apply that value and those lessons to future efforts. In other words, it's the idea or belief that every failure contains valuable information or data that we can use as we move forward, right? This is what we mean by failing forward. And we're going to be talking about this with a very special person, my Uncle Randy. Randy Jones is founder and CEO of Dembi Dolli Realty. He's also founder and CEO of Elegant Pocketwear. But even more than that, he's a serial entrepreneur. Now, a serial entrepreneur is a person who starts several businesses at a time, right? One after the other, instead of beginning something and staying focused just to that one thing for many years. From the time that I can remember, my Uncle Randy's always had several irons in the fire. Some things did phenomenally well, and other things didn't. And so I remember once when I was talking to him about something that I wanted to try, and this is actually what brought him to mind when I was like, who would be good to talk about, how to's, like who should come on this first season? I remember talking to him about something that I wanted to do, and he was like, do it. Like, just do it, right? Take a swing. He said, the more balls that you swing at, the higher the probability that one of them will result in a home run. I don't know if he remembers telling me this, but it stuck with me. He said, the more you swing, the more likely it'll be that you have a home run. So just go for it. And I did. And I don't know if it was a home run or not, but that wisdom and that knowledge and that advice really stuck with me. And of course, with that mentality comes plenty of opportunities for failing and learning from failure. And so this is why I thought he would be the perfect person to come on to talk with us about failing forward. So please, please, please welcome one of my dearest friends and one of my just someone that I love so much, my Uncle Randy Jones. Hey, Uncle Randy.
Hi, darling.
It's so good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. What a beautiful introduction, and I'm just honored to be able to help you and talk about these things. And we had that conversation not too long ago.
You
It
remember
wasn't
that
too long
conversation?
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
you're pulling the trigger.
You just got to do it, right?
You
You
just
just
got to
got to
do
do
it,
it.
Tiff. You
That's
just got to
always
do it.
I feel like that's always been your example to me is, and we're about to get into your story, but that's always been the example for me is have no fear of failing, just try and let's see what happens, right?
Right.
And so before we get into that conversation, though, I want to start with you how I start with everyone who's come on. And that is kind of going back to the overall idea of what I want to represent and what I want my work to represent. And that is seeing God everywhere. And so the idea behind that is that God is not relegated to the walls of the church. God is not only in faith communities like within the structure. God is everywhere and is always speaking to us, always want us to, tune in to what God is trying to teach us. And so my question to you is, where have you seen God lately?
Um, with my health
Mm,
and you know, I just see him everywhere. I just see him with my health. I wasn't feeling too well a few years ago,
yeah.
and now I feel like I'm back, and
Mm,
I feel really strong, and um, I see God everywhere. I see
yeah.
him, in my family, with my
Hmm.
friends, and you know, God is great. God is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. That's good. And, God will show up when you least expect God
A-
to as well.
Absolutely,
But I'm
absolutely,
glad that, you heard him speaking to you through your health and that you're feeling a lot better. So that's awesome.
absolutely, absolutely.
Um, and so let's get into this story, right? So throughout your life, from what I can remember, and if I leave something out, let me know. But from what I can recall, you've been an athlete, you've been an actor, you've been a comedian, a financial advisor, a public speaker, a music producer, a real estate investor, and an inventor, right?
Yeah,
And
and a
like I said,
massage therapist.
and a massage therapist. I remember that. I do remember that. And so you've had just so many different paths to in your career. And the thing that stood out about that to me is that typically we are encouraged to find one career and to go through it, right? One
Mhm.
career all of your life and to work through it, but you chose not to do that. What led you to pursue something more unconventional?
Well, my dad actually, he was an example. He never, when I was born, I mean, he used to work at Fraser and Jones and all this stuff before I was born. But I
Yeah.
always seen my dad have freedom,
Uh,
um, where he didn't give his time for money. Like there
mm,
wasn't a swap
mhm,
between that, time and money. The most important thing to me is my time.
mhm,
It's not, I would rather find a way to shorten the money to make money in a short period of time than to give all of my time up for money.
mhm,
I don't know if you've ever heard the statement, but um, a lot of wealthy people say that you'll never get rich at a job.
mhm.
Like it's just not a way to get rich because you're giving all your time to someone else and you're
Right.
making them rich. So
Mm,
they're paying you a portion of whatever, but what are they really making? And
mhm,
then what do they have? They have people that are working for them and they have time.
mhm, mhm. So you feel like time is your most valuable resource?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because with time, if I have time on my own, I can think of a master plan. But if I'm
Mhm.
giving my time to someone else and all of my time to them, you know, 40, 50, 60 hours a week to someone else,
Right.
then how can I think of anything for myself?
Mhm,
So I've always liked having free time. I like to, not whether it's free or whatever, but I just could never see myself just locked into a 9 to 5 where you punch a clock every day and you're just
Mhm.
there and everything. So I had to figure out a way to make it happen without having to
Right.
do that.
Right. On the flip side, though, what people who do have a more secure job have is security. And so
Right.
that is like the give and take to it all because everyone isn't like I feel like some people do value security over freedom, right? And it's all a personal choice at the end of the day. Um but my question to you is how do you like there had to have been some things that you had to sacrifice in order for you to pursue the path that you did.
Security.
Mhm.
I've sacrificed security. But
Yeah.
then what happens is a 9 to 5, is a job working for someone, is it really secure?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because
Uh-huh.
as soon as something goes down, we're cutting back, uh, the job is downsizing, this and that.
Mhm.
You've
Mhm.
given your life over to a company. At the end of the day, they give you a severance and say, okay, well, you've been with us for 15 years, but we can't use you anymore. And
Mhm.
here's your severance package of something that's going to run out in a few years, and you know,
Mhm.
so I mean, what is security?
Right. What is security? I think that's a good question. So you're saying that the security that people feel is an illusion.
Well, I mean, in some cases it is, and then in some cases maybe it works out.
Mhm.
But for me, um, I'd rather bet on myself
Mhm.
than someone else, and there
Mhm.
is definitely a sacrifice that comes along with it.
Yeah.
When things are going well, you're doing super well,
Right.
and then sometimes it gets really rough, and
Mhm.
then you have to reinvent and think of other things to do.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't trade it in. I wouldn't trade it in.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of happy with the path that I've selected, even
Yeah.
though it has been challenging at times.
Yeah, and I mean, but that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about the ways that those challenges can help propel you forward. And so when you think about the different careers that you've had and you think about, where you are now, walk us through kind of how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Well, uh, I was an All-American basketball player. I played
Uh-huh.
basketball my entire life, thinking that I was going to be in the NBA.
Right.
Um, I got to a point where I should have. I believe I would have been, late first round, you know, top of the second round. Uh, I was top 50 in the country. So there's
Mhm.
37, 40 teams in the NBA.
Right.
So, one of those slots, I kind of felt like it would have been mine.
Yeah.
Um, with the lifestyle and stuff, I was a little out of control,
Mhm.
PK and stuff like that. And things didn't really, work out that way. And for a long time, I was kind of stuck, like, and I was angry
Mhm.
and I got in a lot of fights and
Mhm.
was fist fighting and knocking people out and just carrying on and doing things.
Yeah.
And then my sister Pam
Mhm.
was a massage therapist,
Yeah.
and we had a really close relationship. And she was like, Randy, with those big old hands you got, you
Yeah.
would be a great massage therapist.
Right.
And at that time in my life, I hadn't I didn't have any victories in a long time,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
I was down, and my sister kind of threw out there, why don't you try this?
Mm.
So I went to this school down in Florida. It was a massage school,
Yeah.
And I went into this class. It was like a 4 month class, and I stayed on campus. And it was kinesiology.
Mhm.
It was shiatsu, like meridians. It was
Mhm.
all of this stuff. And I went down there. I learned it. I passed it, and it was really hard scientific. Like it was like something that a doctor would do. Like you wouldn't think that there was so many things that are involved in massage therapy. It's a state licensing,
Yeah.
like you got to go through this massive test and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And I completed it, Tiff. I came back to New York. I passed the state board, and boom, I was off to the races. So I had a win. Like I
Yeah.
won,
Yeah.
like, so
Yeah.
I'd been losing, losing, losing.
Mhm.
And then I came, and then I did something, and that was the start of it, of a
Yeah.
role that I went on. I was like, oh, I can learn. I got
Yeah.
that Jones brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't go to Harvard. You
Right,
know what
right,
I'm saying?
right.
I didn't go to Cornell,
Right,
but
right,
I can
right.
learn. And then once I, accomplished that, I was so excited.
Yeah.
And so then I rubbed backs for like, I don't know, a long time. And then I was independent.
Mhm.
So now I would give a massage for 1 hour,
Yeah.
and I'd make $100.
Right.
So
Right.
now if I do 2 massages a day, that's
Then you're good.
$200.
You're good. Yeah.
And what do I have left for the rest of my day?
Your time.
Hallelujah.
Got it.
That's it, girl.
So how did you go from being a massage therapist to being an act, like why didn't you stick with being a massage therapist?
Well, because once I accomplished that, then I said, you know what? I'm in Syracuse. I'm too big for this place. Like I got to get out of here.
So that's when you went to
And
LA.
and then I said, you know what? I got the tool in my bag. I got the massage therapy now,
Right.
that now I can go, and I can go anywhere with this thing.
Uh-huh.
I All I need is my table. So I had a massage table, I had the skill. I
Mhm.
didn't need a building, I didn't need
Uh-huh.
anything. All I need was clients.
So you got started by learning a skill that was transfer not transferable, but that was mobile, that you could go anywhere with and you could make
Exactly.
money with it. And so that was your way of kind of starting your entrepreneurial journey and your entrepreneurial path, finding something that you could take with you wherever you wanted to go and doing that while pursuing other things.
Absolutely. And so now when I had that in my bag, um, I felt like I was always like this special character, and I had a look and all this stuff. I always
Mhm.
felt special. So I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? Let me go and take a shot in LA. Like,
Yeah.
I think that I could go and make some noise in LA.
Right.
So I had something now, again, the massage therapy, that I could move to LA, and
Mhm.
I could support myself once I got
Mhm.
some clients,
Right.
and then I could continue to go on auditions and and
Right.
and all of these things.
Mhm.
So that brought me to LA.
Right. And then you were an actor in LA, had a really good career, as a matter of fact. You were Kuda in, what was the
Battle
name of the
Dome.
show, Uncle Randy?
It was Battle
Battle
Dome.
Dome. Battle Dome. Like, I still have teachers at Bret Hart talking about when you came for career day. Remember that? You came to
Yeah,
career
yeah,
day to talk to the kids and everyone knew you as Kuda and they were taking pictures with you. Like, you
yeah,
had a really successful acting career.
yeah.
And so, but you went from acting to being a comedian?
I went from acting to, so then what happened is I went from acting, and I made a bunch of money at one time from the
Right.
show.
Mhm.
And what helped me with that show is when I was mad and I was knocking people out in Syracuse. It's funny. I'm just saying how your life
Right.
can it brings you to a certain place. So I was mad. I used to fight a lot,
Yep.
and I would get in trouble for the very fighting.
Right.
And then I moved to LA. I got really
Right.
good at fighting,
Right.
and then they gave me a job to beat
And then
up
you got
people.
paid for beating up
Are
people.
you serious right now? Like, you can't beat God in giving,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
what was the question? Like, I just totally went off track there.
It's
So,
okay. No, I was trying to make the connection between being an actor to being
okay, I
like
remember
you
now.
went from that to like being a comedian. And we're not going to go through everything.
No, no. So then what happened is from the acting, that is what jumpstart my real estate career.
Got it. Because
So
you
I
took the
took
money
the
that you
money
made as an actor and invested it into real estate.
in real estate. I bought the 4-unit apartment building in
Yeah.
Inglewood,
Yeah.
and that is what started my real estate career.
Got it. And so it was just a building upon building upon building upon building. And that
Right,
speaks to the idea that none of your experience are wasted. Like even if you
right,
pursue something at one point, it's not a waste of time, even if you don't continue to pursue it. Why? Because those skills that you gain in that experience, you can build upon it.
right,
And so massage therapy allows you to move to LA. Moving to LA allowed you to become an actor. The money you got from acting started your real estate, and all of that kind of set you up to even be allowed to swing even higher and possibly fail because you had a little cushion. Would you say that?
exact. That's exactly it, Tiff.
Mhm.
So now I buy the real estate, and the time that I bought that real estate, I bought it in 2000. I bought the property in 2000. From 2000 to 2007, the real estate market went crazy in LA. I gained
Mhm.
$500,000 in equity over a 6-year period of time.
Right.
So then I said, you know what? I got all of this equity.
Mhm.
Let me go and buy 44 units in
Mhm.
Syracuse, New York.
Right.
So I
Right.
bought 44. I took the equity out and I bought 44 units, but I bought it in 2007.
Uh-huh.
Fail,
That was a big fail.
right? So I had a win,
Yeah.
but I was like, I can take this thing to the next level.
Yeah.
And then I bought 44 units,
Right.
and then I was too far away.
Yeah.
You never buy anything that you can't drive by and see.
Yeah.
My managers were stealing money.
Mhm.
I bought um, singles and 1 bedrooms. So my turnaround, families don't stay there. Either you're on your way up
Yeah.
and you stay there, or you're on your way down and you stay there. But
Right.
there's no way that you're going to stay for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And that's
So
where,
that's where the fail came in.
right,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
big learning lesson.
Yeah. So do you feel that in all of these different professions, you've had some wins, you've had some losses. Do you feel like the failures you experienced help you map out your path?
Absolutely.
In what way?
Well, you learn, there's nothing like experience to teach. I
Uh,
mean, first of all, people, you can hear words from people and they can say things, but nothing sticks like when you're going
experience.
through it
Right.
and you experience it for yourself.
Mhm.
So, um, I learned a lesson that I carry today. So that
Mhm.
lesson that I learned has helped me with what I do in real estate even today.
Mhm.
And it was painful, but it was a part of it. But I didn't quit.
Right. 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 I know that in life we've all had failures. We've all had challenges. What do you feel like, just from a life's perspective, you've learned about failure?
That it's a part of life. Um, if you're not failing,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going outside of your comfort zone.
Mm,
You know what I mean? So, either you're going to be comfortable and never grow and stay
mm-hmm.
the same,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to go outside of your comfort zone and get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And if you get uncomfortable, then you're going to fail. But when you
Mm,
fail, you're going to learn. And
right.
then when you learn, then you're going to make changes. And failure is okay. You just don't fail the same way all the time.
Mm,
It's cool to fail. I
yeah.
mean, it's not a bad thing to fail,
Right.
but will I ever go and buy a 44 unit that is singles and
Yeah.
one bedroom apartments ever again?
Right.
No, I will not, because I learned that lesson.
So
But
failure for you,
it hasn't stopped me from doing real estate.
right? Would you say then that the closest relationship that you have with failure is not necessarily that failure is the enemy, which is what we're often told, or that it's even the undertaker and should be avoided? Would you say that your biggest relationship with failure is as a teacher or something else?
Absolutely a teacher.
Mhm.
Absolutely a teacher. And it refines you. It makes you better.
Mm.
Failure is a friend.
Mhm.
It just depends on how you look at it.
Right. So go a little deeper in how it's a friend.
Well, that same real estate deal that I got beat up on,
Uh-huh.
it took me some years to kind of mess my credit up and stuff like that, and it took me
Mhm.
some years to rebound.
Yeah.
It made me appreciate my credit. Now, some people can say, well, it didn't work out and whatnot, but now I guard my credit and I realize how important credit is.
So it
Um,
educates you, it
it,
refines you, it makes you
it,
sharper.
it makes you sharper and it makes you make better decisions. It makes you
Mhm.
think about things a little bit more deeply and you consider it more. Like I used to kind of just do things on an impulse,
Yeah.
and I'm still that way,
Mhm.
but now there's a lot more thought behind it.
Mhm.
Like, the true repercussions of it. And not only in real estate and in business, but just in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every great person, Tiff, every gazillionaire, Oprah Winfrey, all of these people, uh, every winner
Mhm.
has failed a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think that, so I heard an author, he has a book out, it's called The Power of Regret. And it's Daniel Pink is the author of that book. I heard him once say that it's not, and I want to get your opinion about this. He said that it's not actually the act of failing that most people worry about. It's our concern about what other people may think or say about us failing. He said, we fail all the time. You fail it at work. You may not, meet your target at work. You may not, um, you know, do everything that you want to do as a parent, and you may feel some kind of way, but that the real uh, discomfort of failing comes from being worried about what other people may think because you failed. How do you get past that?
Well, I think that is just maturity. It
Hmm.
comes with maturity. Um, I can remember when I was a teenager and in my 20s,
Hmm.
I had a million friends. It seemed like I had, 10,000 friends.
Yeah.
And then every 10 years, you can cut that off by 2,000 friends. And
Yeah.
then by the time you get 40,
Mhm.
you realize that you have five friends
Mhm.
and two of them that really, really care about you.
Right.
And so for me to care about what other people are thinking, but
Uh-huh.
again, that's something that's maturity. Every person comes to it that
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what other people think. It just matters that your family loves you, you're
Mhm.
supporting people
Yeah.
love you, and they could care less. Even if you weren't failing, people are going to find something that's wrong anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to my husband to, I can't remember when it was, but you know, as it relates to even the work that I'm doing now, so many different people have so many different opinions. And, most of them are good, some of them aren't good. And it's like, okay, well, how do you determine who to really listen to? And I thought about something that I think it was Brene Brown said. And she said that you basically have to decide on who you're going to listen to when you are branching out and doing new things. Because at the end of the day, you can't listen to everybody. And so you basically want to pick five good people that love you, that has your back, that only want to see you win. And when you branch out and when you start these ventures, those are the people that you really want to, whose opinion you really want to value. And at some point, you have to block out everyone else. And you have to really just focus in on your top five or maybe 10 or however that big that number is, but it's not going to be everyone. And I think the same lesson relates to failing. Like when something doesn't go right, you can't be worried about what the masses of people are going to say. You have to focus in on those that are really in your corner and really love you and will help you, will be there for you to cry and to grieve and to do whatever you have to do before you're able to get back up.
Absolutely. And I think you have to deal with people too that will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Like the honest truth.
Mhm.
Like um, and a lot of people don't find those people as their friend. But I
Yeah.
believe that, those people are the most friend. Like they have your back,
Uh-huh.
but that they wouldn't lie. Like
Yeah.
for instance, um, if I wanted to be a white guy right now,
Mhm.
like it's impossible.
Right. It's like, okay, Uncle Randy.
So somebody needs to tell me, hey, Rand,
Right.
guess what?
That's
It
not
ain't
gonna
gonna
happen.
happen. You
Right,
don't
right,
have that skill. Like, if I can't sing or whatever, but hey, it might work today because, I listen to a lot of music where the artists are just absolutely terrible.
right. Because
And
it's
they're
more about
making money.
style in a lot of ways, but yeah.
Right. But somebody that they just tell you the truth. When it's
Yeah.
good, they go, hey man, that's bomb. And when it's not good,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? That wasn't so good.
Right.
But somebody that loves you enough, that you respect enough to, they're honest with you.
Yeah. And that
And then
actually
there's
leads. Go ahead.
go ahead, babe.
I was just gonna say that actually leads to my next thought or my next question, which is, I heard somewhere that ego is the enemy of success. Ego is the enemy of success. How do you feel about that statement? Specifically, when as we talk about failure and we're talking about challenges and we're talking about having to have the mental state to get back up. When you think about pride and you think about ego and your ego not being able to take a shot, like how does that impact your ability to bounce back?
Well, I think that's a huge. You can't bounce back if you're not telling the truth to yourself.
Mm,
And I think that ego gives you a blurred vision of yourself. So you look in the mirror and you have this ego, and
yeah.
you're not able to say to myself that, you know what, I don't have a shot at, like how we were just talking about having friends being honest with
Yeah.
you. The
Mhm.
most important person that you can never lie to is yourself.
Right.
So if that has anything to do with it, having a big ego where you can't you can't listen to someone and take constructive criticism,
Mhm.
um, that's you're never going to make it that way because that means that your ears are shut off. You
Right.
can't hear even when because sometimes people telling you the hard truth is the
Mhm.
thing that really helps you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and if your ego is too big, you're not going to put yourself in a position to look a certain way because you'll be too scared that your ego won't let you, your pride won't let you, your pride won't let you potentially fall or potentially fail. But
Ah,
once we humble ourselves and say, I don't know everything, I'm not trying to, or I'm not attempting this activity because I expect perfection. I'm attempting this activity knowing that there's going to be stuff I don't know. And there's a possibility that I'm going to fail. But from that failure, I'm going to learn, and I'm going to learn what doesn't work. And I'm going to keep on stepping. I think if your
absolutely.
ego is too big, it's not going to let you do that.
Right.
You
So
have
what
to
you're
humble
saying,
yourself. Go ahead.
so what you're saying is that when you have an ego, I might have misinterpreted. So if my ego is too big, that stops me from trying different things because I don't want to look a certain way in other people's
Exactly.
eyes.
Exactly. Potentially. Yep. Exactly.
Well, I tell you the cure for that
What's that?
is to get up on a stage and try and do some stand-up comedy at the J spot
Yeah.
and get up there and tell some jokes, and
Right.
then people look at you like you crazy, and the only person you can hear is yourself breathing, and then you forget everything that you had lined up to say, and you just
Right.
standing there, and they just looking at you, and you just looking at them, and
Right.
then
So that'll get you over it. Sometimes what I hear you say is that sometimes you have to intentionally put yourself in positions to make a fool out of yourself so that
shit,
you know that making a fool out of yourself is not the end all be all. That's not the
it,
end of the road. It's not death.
and it's not even making a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
It's you have to put yourself in a position to feel uncomfortable.
Ah.
And then when
Yep.
you can get through feeling uncomfortable,
Yeah.
you can get comfortable feeling uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. Mhm.
And then what happens is that there's a calmness that comes over you that you feel like you can deal with any adversity.
Yeah.
But if you're always in a place where you feel comfortable,
That's
there's
good.
no growth. There's no growth when something crazy happens and and you're trying to figure out what's going on. You can't think clearly because you're not used to it. And
Yeah.
life is uncomfortable. I mean,
Mhm.
at times,
Mhm.
when you're doing something new, it's always uncomfortable. and
Yeah.
then you get comfortable.
Right. That's really good. That's really good. Well, Uncle Randy, we can't talk about failure without talking about risk because anything that you attempt, there's a potential for risk, right? And when we talk
Hmm.
about failure and failing forward and putting yourself in a position to possibly fail, what we're not saying um, is to just jump out there and do things without calculating risk. Because with failure, there can be tangible consequences, right? Like when you think about the 44 units that you purchased
Hmm.
and you didn't get a return on it, that's a loss of time, that's a loss of money. So, how do you, when you're going into these situations, how do you calculate risk? The risk of trying something and failing?
I calculate it by the reward.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So, um, obviously things are different when you didn't have kids and stuff like that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I wouldn't really say that. I think because of the kids, when I had children and I had people depending on me, it made me
Yeah.
take more risks
Ah, that's interesting.
because yeah, because I felt like, I bought the 44 unit because I knew that if it worked out, that it would have kicked me over the top
Yep.
and it would have put me in a position where, um, we wouldn't have to really worry about anything if it ran right.
Yeah.
Um, but it didn't happen. I expected it to happen. I thought it would happen,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't happen. It's not like I didn't get a return though, but it just
Mm-hmm.
didn't work out the way that I thought.
Right.
And so I did end up selling it,
Uh-huh.
but I blew my acting career at the same time
Mm.
because what happened is that I had to go and manage the building
Yeah.
because I couldn't trust anybody with the money.
Yeah.
And then now my acting career, out of sight, out of mind,
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of went by the wayside, and so there was a risk there, and I paid the price. But
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it wasn't the end all be all,
Yeah.
and it was a valuable lesson learned.
Right.
And there's always a risk.
Right.
Um, I weigh it by the reward, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's how
Mm-hmm.
I weigh whether I'm going to go for something, no matter how risky it is.
Yeah.
Is what is the reward look like on the other side?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I mean, even the word says to count the cost before you jump. And if it's something that you can afford physically, financially, mentally, if you can afford it, jump, knowing that there's a risk there. But if not, well, knowing that there's a risk there, but also knowing the reward. Um, but in other cases, this may not be the right time if failure is going to make you risk it all. Even though,
Well,
what do you think?
risk it all. Um, I can. That's really never scared me because I can reinvent.
Mm,
So um, as far as I'm concerned, me not making the NBA, my acting career was on the brink. I worked with Terry Crews all this
yeah.
time, like, so I've seen what it could look like, and at this point, I just feel like I'm unfazed.
So
You know
it's
what I
just
mean?
about
As long as my
reinvention.
wife and the people that love me,
Uh-huh.
uh, I know that I know I have their support, and I have it 100%. I have my
Yeah.
wife's support
Mhm.
100%. Like she just,
Mhm.
I have free reign
Yeah.
to go and go for it.
Mhm.
I won't risk it all, Tiff,
Yeah.
but I will risk
You
most of
will
it.
risk it. You said most of it. That is funny.
It's
Wha
true.
No, it is true. It is true. It
I ain't
is true.
scared.
No, no, you're not. I know that, Uncle Randy. I know that because, and I think you said it because 2 things. One is you set yourself up with to have a padding, you know? Like you set yourself up to have some sort of net, at least in the beginning. And because you've experienced success, you know that you can get it again. And I think that speaks to the motivation for you to try again. I feel like when you've reached success to some extent, it can be at home, it can be at your job, it can be wherever. Even if you try something and fail, you know, well, if I did it once, I can do it again, right?
Absolutely.
With, and I
Absolutely.
think you said it with reinvention. Like you learn how to come back after you fail, grieve, do what you have to do, but then be thinking of your reinvention plan.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then you
I think
plan
that
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 and you work the plan.
I think that that is the key,
Mhm.
because nothing stays the same.
Right.
So why should I? The
Ah.
world is evolving, things are
Mhm.
changing,
Mhm.
and why don't I? I feel like every 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
I got to learn something new. I
Yeah.
just gotta, like you feel like you're stagnant, you
Mhm.
know, like right now, I am learning. Right now, I'm in that stage. My 5 years is is
Yeah.
is here, and
Mhm.
I'm studying for my real estate exam. Like
Yes, and
right
so
now as we speak. So I just
yeah.
finished with my pre-licensing,
Yeah.
and um, I got the renovation. We have the renovation company,
Uh-huh.
and I feel like why would I give my renovations to agents?
Mhm.
So why don't I get my real estate license?
Yeah.
And when I do the renovations, so I buy the house, I get the commission, I do the renovation, I make the money
Yeah.
off of that, then I sell
Mhm.
the property. It's just, it's reinventing, it's making sense of it all, and it's not being afraid to just do it.
Yeah.
You
Right.
just do it.
Right. And I mean, I think that speaks to something else that you're doing. In addition to Dembi Dolo Realty, which you just spoke about, and you all, if you aren't following him, my uncle has a Facebook page where he actually documents the process of flipping houses. So now he's in Atlanta, he's flipping houses, and in a very comedic way, which is his style, he produces videos that shows himself flipping houses. He includes, other videos that emphasizes whatever point he makes. It's hilarious. So if you aren't following him on Facebook, so you can see those videos, please do. Um, that's one thing. The second thing that you're doing right now is managing elegant pocket squares. Not only are you managing it, you are the inventor of the elegant pocket square. You are now the CEO of Elegant Pocket Wear. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I was doing financial services,
Mhm. Uh-huh.
and I was, talking to people about saving money, and I've always liked to dress up, and my
Yeah.
my 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 pocket hanky would never stay still. So as I was giving these presentations and
Yeah.
entertaining everybody, my pocket hanky would move up and down and this and that. And
Right.
that's how Elegant Pocket Wear was born. It was
Mhm.
born because my stupid handkerchief would not stay still. And just being a problem solver, I feel like I'm a problem solver.
Yeah.
And it just came to my mind, and I, said to my wife, there's got to be something, better. And then we just started on I had some magnets, and some paper, and we folded some paper with some magnets. And I said it needs to do this,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then the prototypes were born. So um, now we're at a stage where um, once we came up with a decent prototype, I said, you know what, I think we have something here. So then I
Yeah.
started with the. I said, I looked around, I saw these things, and I said, there's nothing like this in the entire world.
Mhm.
There's nothing like it. So then I
Mhm.
started the patent process,
Yeah.
and then the first patent that I did, we did the patent process, but I didn't know that you had to file the permanent patent with inside of a year.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
So I started with the patent process. We did it. Then when I talked to somebody to do the permit, they were like, "Well, you're too late. You got to do it inside of a year."
Mm.
Fail,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
But I had to start again,
Yeah.
and then I did it inside of a year.
Yeah.
Then it took 2 years for them to search the world to see if there was anything like it. So that's
Mhm.
2 years go by.
Yeah.
Then they saw something that was fairly close called the best pocket holder, it's called, and it's in
Mhm.
every store, whatever, where it's magnetic and you put your handkerchief inside of it, but it sits in your
Oh,
pocket and
okay.
then it
Yeah.
closes.
And then it
And it's
closes.
called the best pocket square holder.
Mhm.
So then to fight with them, that took another 2 years.
Yeah. So
And
it's
now
been a
I'm paying
process.
money, paying money too the whole time because I got a patent
Mhm.
attorney.
Right.
And then finally the Lord blessed, there's nothing like it. So then we secured the patent. But
Yeah.
but there was a fail at the start of it. And
Yeah.
then and then I'm doing financial services and I left the company. I mean, I made a lot of money doing it, but then I left the company. So I guess some people would consider it a fail.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
then Elegant Pocketware came out of me doing
Out of
financial
that.
services,
Right.
which is absolutely going to be a winner. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it just takes time,
Right.
but it's how failure leads to success. Any way you want to look at
Yeah.
it, I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying things. You fail, you gain something, and a lot of times it's unexpected.
Mhm.
Like you
Mhm.
don't know what you're going to get from trying things.
You
Or it
don't know
doesn't.
what
It
you're gonna
may
get.
not work out. It may not work out the way that you thought it was gonna, but something comes out of it, out of the blue.
Yeah.
There's a blessing
Yeah.
in trying things and not being afraid to fail. There's a blessing, a complete blessing in it.
Right. Right.
And sometimes you have no idea what it is.
That is coming.
If you would have asked me, Tiffany, 6 or 7 years ago, well, we've been involved for 6 or 7 years. If you would have asked me 10 years ago,
Yeah.
you're you're going to be an inventor,
Yeah.
I would have told you you're out of your mind. I mean, I've been trying to invent stuff though, so it's kind of been in my mind.
Yeah.
But I mean, who would ever thought that I would have invented something that actually earned a United States patent?
Right. And so I think that leads to our last question, which is, so if there's someone out there, they want to try something, but they're afraid that it's not going to work out, that it's not going to fail, what would you tell them? What piece of advice would you give them?
I would tell them if it's in your spirit and you're honest with yourself.
Yeah.
The first thing you got to be is honest with yourself.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not going to jump and fly to the moon. Like I'm Superman, but I'm not Superman. Like I can't fly, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you're honest with yourself, but if there's something in your spirit that is sitting in your spirit
Yeah.
and day in and day out it goes through your mind,
Mhm.
and even if you think, well, obviously you think it because it's in your spirit,
Yeah.
then you go for it. You go
Mhm.
for it, you prepare yourself and you try it.
Mhm.
and you try it, and if it doesn't happen, then you try it again,
Mm.
and you try it again,
Hmm.
and then eventually it will happen or it won't, and then
Yeah.
you move on.
Right. Right.
But
But
you
there's only
try it,
one way to know. There's only one way to know.
is to do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Uncle Randy, for this conversation. I got so much out of it as I knew I would. Tell everyone where they can find you, where they can follow you.
They can follow me at elegant underscore pocket underscore where. I got to change that. That's my Instagram.
Okay.
If you want to follow my video stuff, you could just go to my Facebook page, which is Randolph Jones.
Yeah.
And then too, I advertise my pocket wear on there, and also with my real estate business. Um, we're trying to grow it and stuff, and we're actually taking on investors. So we're doing. This is our third one, so we have a really established real estate company,
Hmm.
and we're giving pretty good rates of return and stuff like that, and that's where you can follow me.
All
I'm always
right.
around.
Yes. And, as I mentioned at the beginning, I have a Facebook page now dedicated to this, and I'll be posting where you can follow all of the guests that we've had. Uncle Randy, thank you again. We appreciate you for coming,
Thank
and we
you,
love you
Tiffany. I
so,
love you
so
so much.
much.
And
So,
you got to help me get my Facebook page so I can
look,
put my stuff, you know,
it's all learning, right? It's all
exactly.
trial and error. So,
Exactly, darling.
love you, love you. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. Next week, we actually will not be having a conversation because in the Blake's household, it's spring break and we're going to be off doing something. So we will be back the following week. I think that's the week of the 24th, if I'm not mistaken. But hopefully by then I would have posted some of these videos and you can rewatch and watch clips and comment and do all the things. But thank you so much. And as I close out, as I always say, we want to see God everywhere, and I want you to practice seeing God everywhere. And I want you to start with seeing God in yourself. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.